Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Pregame Show presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO for 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. We talked briefly last night about Buck Showalter's stretch of great success in Baltimore from 2012 to 2016, guys, and get to talk more about Buck Showalter tonight, one of the NL's best teams, the New York Mets, in town for a weekend set against the Chicago Cubs. Kevin Wells here in for Luke Stuckmeyer once again. Cody, talked about it last night, but it's going to be a tough stretch. Maybe going to extend this on to 10 games. What do you think?
Well, also, hello, Corey. Yeah, I mean, I think if the Cubs aren't going to get swept in this series, I think tonight is the best chance they got. And maybe tomorrow because it will be the Marcus Stroman revenge game. But I do think that tonight is their best shot. So, here's the hoping, guys.
Would agree. Corey, what's going on, man?
Happy to be here. Was talking before, went to the game a couple nights ago. Lots of Orioles fans. Expecting a lot of blue and orange at Wrigley tonight. I think they're going to show out.
I went to Cubs Mets at Wrigley Field last year. That was in like May. And, I mean, even with the core still there were still a lot of Mets fans. So, yeah, I bet there's going to be a lot of Mets fans
when
there
the
tonight.
Mets are good, they're going to travel.
And, I mean, this team's really good. First-place team, 2.5 up. They got a lot to play for. They got 4 All-Stars. They got a hell of a pitching staff. And, honestly, you're right. This is going to be their best chance to win tonight. The Cubs to snap their losing streak is going to be with Keegan Thompson, who's been very consistent for them. And then they got to go against the likes of Max Scherzer this weekend and some other guys, too, that with sub-3 ERAs. So it's a tough stretch here. First-place club, the Mets come in with an elite pitching staff. They're second in baseball in total Ks, 846 this year, and they're 7th in walks. So not going to be easy, no question.
Shout out to Joey for just putting his hand in front of the lens there for a second. Love to see it.
Guest appearance.
Guest appearance of Joey's hand.
Well, technically we're in preview mode, so the show never would have seen that if you didn't.
My bad.
You didn't just call me out for it.
I was just looking at the screen and I saw your hand go across it. And I was like,
inside baseball for you.
Oh,
yeah.
We do have some news too. Frank Schwindel's back, guys. Frank Schwindel activated from the injured list, and Andrelton Simmons goes on the. What did we want to do before? The injured list, right? The Jason Hayward injured list.
Unless, Corey, did I miss him get hurt? Did he get hurt over the weekend against the Dodgers?
I got to tell you guys, I watch every inning of this team. I don't pay attention to Anderson Simmons. I don't know. I don't know.
He really came out of nowhere. Yeah. Like, what happened to Andrelton Simmons? It's kind of like the Jason Hayward injury. Like, is he injured or is he
hey,
injured?
you got a bruise on your leg. We need you to sit down a little bit, let our guys who are hitting hit the ball. We want to keep Nelson Velasquez up here because he's hitting really well. I think it's one of those, but who knows? Maybe he is actually injured, but good to see Frank Schwindel back.
He had the shoulder, I think it was inflammation the first time, when he was coming into camp and stuff that he was a little delayed with. So it's still, it's another right shoulder problem. So probably just a lingering thing there. I don't think a single person that roots for this team is upset at this transaction. It's good to have Frank back. See ya, Andrelton, right?
Yeah.
I'm happy to have Frank back for vibes. We need vibes, like positive vibes. I mean, there's a reason I'm wearing a freaking Hawaiian palm tree shirt today. Like,
you look like Greg Boyson a little bit.
I do feel like Greg Boyson a little bit. Just trying to I'm trying to will this team to a W. I don't know what else to do.
6 in a row is tough. But like Ryan said last night on our post-game show, it's hard to lose 10 games in a row. The Cubs have done it 3 times in a calendar year, but I don't expect them to get swept tonight. Keegan Thompson's played against some really good opponents this year. He's coming off a pretty nice performance against the Los Angeles Dodgers, but, I mean, talk about quite the ask. Go from the Dodgers to the Mets, the 2 teams in the NL that are clearly far and away superior than the rest.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything to look for into tonight's game, when a season like this, we're at a point where it's like, all right, what are we getting up for in this game? And I've said it every 5th day. It's like, all right, if it's Keegan Thompson's become must-see television, he's, you mentioned the start against the Dodgers, and even before that, he had put together some really good outings. He's been on a really nice roll. honestly, since the Braves series, and even a little bit before that too. Honestly, his 2 worst starts were against the Orioles and the Yankees this year.
The Yankees is the one I remember.
Yeah, the Yankees and the Orioles.
Rock bottom.
And then, but other than that, he's been really good as a starter. And that was something that at first I wasn't really on board for him, but he's simply kind of changed my mind on it. So, yeah, last week when they went up against the Dodgers, I was like, all right, man, like going up against this lineup, show us what you got. And he deserved to win that game that night. Cubs blew it at the end, and it was one of the most annoying losses of the year. So tonight, you hope maybe the Cubs can get a win with him on the bump. You feel good about him. It's become a thing where I feel good about the Cubs when he goes to pitch. And that's not something that I can say very often. So that's how I'm going into this game, at least.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it, Kevin. Like, this is a big – this is the kind of game where, like, I feel like especially people like Cody and I are going to start – there's a potential that we get a little carried away, right? Like, you watch the outing that Keegan had in Los Angeles against that team. Then he comes back home now against this Mets team that's playing well in first place, has a very solid lineup. If he goes out there and gives us something like we saw in Los Angeles, like everybody's already on board the Keegan train. But like if he puts these 2 outings together, he's got a chance, if he does well tonight, to leave the start with a sub-3 ERA on the season. Like, might get a little hyperbolic in the postgame show. That's all I'm saying. If he goes out there and shoves tonight, like that's 2 really good teams in a row. It'd be 2 really good starts in a row. Like it would be very easy to get carried away.
Oh yeah, very easy.
I'm prepared to.
I've already, if I'm the one who's already, starting the campaign for him to be the next mayor of Chicago, I've already got there. Let's be real. But like Corey is right though. There's been very few good things to talk about this team this year, and Keegan Thompson is number 1. He has been the number 1 good thing outside of Nico Horner, probably. Brendan would probably tell me Nico Horner.
I was going to say, I said Nico Horner last night on the postgame show, and I'm not going to double back on that. Nico's been my favorite player to watch, but Keegan Thompson, man, close second, and it's close. He's been great. He's been a revelation. And honestly, you talk about in a down year, this team's now 20 games under 500. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot to cheer for, but when Keegan Thompson, it's kind of fun when you see the starting lineup and you're like, oh, Keegan Thompson's throwing tonight. Maybe I want to go to the ballpark and watch. It might be a worthwhile game watching. I feel the same about him and Justin Steele both, and where they'll have a chance tonight. Again, I think the Yankees' start for him was a clear outlier, not even going through 1 inning and just struggling with command early. Mm-hmm. So give us a good start tonight, Keegan. We'll get carried away on the postgame show. I'm looking forward to that.
I see Brennan's in the chat. Is he back in California now? Did he just came to Chicago, went to a game, saw you guys took a selfie. That was real cute, and then he left. Didn't even come to the office.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Absolute bullshit, Brendan. I hope you know that.
That's our producer. That's our producer.
Also, Cody, you were right. My hand, it did. That was stupid preview mode. It does not affect the camera. That was dumb from me. I went back and rewatched the tape. I'm like, I got to go back and watch the tape every day. I'm like a quarterback.
I'm going to tell Jake on you now.
But yeah, Brendan, we're disappointed. I'm disappointed personally.
I could offer up the, the reasoning for why he wasn't able to come in, but I'd rather just sit here and let you guys ream him. So just going to keep it to myself.
We've all got work. We've all got busy schedules.
Absolutely.
Brendan, this is all out of love. We've loved getting to know you and talking to the pitch doctor, and we just really wanted to meet you in person. So we're not just, take it as a compliment.
I've never met Brendan before, but I've always loved your guys' podcast. So maybe next time, Brendan. I'm really looking forward to meeting you. But
he says, Corey, protect me.
The real answer is that Brendan is an actual doctor in real life, and he was interviewing at a hospital while he was here. So
all right, I guess that's fine then.
And we did not actually go to the game together. He went with his family. So even I barely got any time. So
Okay.
There you go.
Well,
we watched the Cubs lose, which is, I think, pretty fitting for the two of us.
What's your record at Wrigley this year? Do you know off the top of your head? I think I've only seen one win. It was the game where Wisdom and Schwindel went back-to-back in the 8th. But other than that, all the games I've been to, I saw Seiya's first career home run, but then they blew that one. That was Marcus Stroman's first start, but it's been tough battles for me.
I mean, I went to opening day, and I should have just stopped going. That was, like, pretty much the peak, I think, of the season in terms of their, like, competitiveness. It was great vibes that day, right? Seiya's debut, like, everything was just great. They beat the Brewers. Everybody's feeling like maybe this team is going to be a little interesting, and I don't know what the record is, but it's a lot.
I'm
of
0 for 6.
Yeah.
I'm 0 for 6.
I've definitely won some games. I was like the
0-6.
Yeah, it's been really brutal.
Oh man, yeah, that's really tough. Well,
I
let's talk about. What,
I would say I'm around 500. I've seen some good wins, and I've seen some really annoying losses. Yeah,
500 is pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah.
For this team,
This team comes to play when Cody's out in the bleachers. He gets them going.
They win more often than not when I do sit in the bleachers.
It's you and Cassidy though, right? It's
Yeah,
it's the duo.
Me and
Gotta be you
Cassidy.
two.
Yeah.
Every game that me and Cassidy have gone to this year, they have won except for one game, and if you go into our entire relationship, they've only lost one game, and it was this year.
So we might want to look into getting you guys season tickets, but
Perhaps I do live close. Who else?
Let's take a look at the starting lineup tonight for the Cubs. Rafael
guess.
Ortega leading off, playing center. Wilson Contreras DHing again. So caught last night, struggled. Maybe could be something. We see Yan Gomes in there towards the end of the lineup. So Contreras DHing. Haps in left field. He was on 3 times yesterday. Suzuki in right. Horner, Wisdom, Rivas, Gomes, Morel, and Keegan Thompson obviously pitching. So Morel's strikeouts have gone up a little bit, trying to get him a little bit more comfortable at the end of the lineup again with Ross. But to me, what stands out, Contreras back in the DH role, out of the catching role. You wonder if it's let's wind him down before the All-Star break starts, before he has to go out there and play a little bit more, or if it's maybe something else. That's what sticks out to me.
Yeah, maybe, we've talked about it a little bit here. Like, they've been DHing him a lot more because trade deadline's looming, guys. Like, I mean, let's be real.
Very good point.
I mean, like, that's the thing.
it's looming, and the team in the other dugout tonight might be taking
This is
a
like a good
particularly
audition.
close look.
This is an audition for
Yeah.
certain Cubs for the Mets, in a way. I mean, if Wilson has a great series, like, perhaps the Mets are like, man, we need this guy now. Man, maybe he leaves with the Mets by the end of the weekend. I don't want to think that, but I'm just
And the
Cody,
relievers,
what's
too.
the word you were using earlier? It's an audition.
an audition.
This is a good audition for the Cubs players, for the Cubs brass. Jed, maybe he goes with like a cheese plate over to the Mets dugout, and he's like, "Hey, look at number 40 out there."
Yeah,
plate.
He brings him a cheese plate. You should bring him a hot dog, bro.
I like that I mean, I think even if your intent is to keep Wilson long term, we've talked a lot about keeping him fresh and just mixing that up. Interesting to look at too, because I think Keegan's talked about this. Keegan Thompson's ERA in 27 innings with Wilson Contreras behind the plate, 4.6. In 37 innings with Yan Gomes behind the plate, like we have tonight, 1.67. So I think
There you
we've
go.
mentioned before that, like, Keegan, Kyle Hendricks, I want to say Justin Steele maybe mentioned this too at times. They've praised Yan Gomes' game calling and, like, his ability to kind of read batters and call pitches and things like that. So that, I think you factor that in, plus the fact that, like, Wilson's coming off a hamstring soreness or whatever he had a week ago. You're probably not going to try to get him back, catching 9 innings a game every single night. So,
Well, and that's a great point. I didn't even realize the splits were that big between the two. We have heard now over the last couple of weeks, Justin Steele and Hendricks both say that Jan has called some great games. So, and I mean, proof's right there in the stats.
and
so
I
good
and I
managerial
can't.
move from
I'm
Ross.
blanking on who it was. It might have been Steele or Thompson, but somebody said that Jan was the one that kind of calmed them down in one of those games. It was like, just throw screw you fastballs, right? Like, just throw fastballs and throw it by them, and it really helped them, or something like that. So he's not bringing it with the bat, Yan Gomes. I would have, if you had asked me before looking, I would have thought his offensive numbers were maybe better than they are. They're really bad. But he's been very valuable as kind of a veteran behind the plate.
You probably think that because at the beginning of the year, he did get some big hits early in the year, but he's really struggled at the plate over the last month and a half.
I looked at it the other day and I was like, oh, this is this is way worse than I thought it was. This is not a good hitting backup catcher.
I mean, he certainly got his. Oh, sorry, Cody.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say he certainly got his work cut out for him tonight. I
Right.
mean, 3 all-star hitters right up in the middle of that lineup, right in your face, right away. McNeil, Alonso, and Marte, all guys that are, knocking the cover off the baseball, all of it. And you know what? I'll say this right now, too. Guarantee you Starling Marte hits a home run in this series. Homers every time he's at Wrigley Field, it seems like. He's going to hit a home run. Hopefully it's not tonight, but it'll happen once this series.
Yeah. As far as this lineup, I'm fine with it. Ortega's kind of struggled since the Brewers series ended. I don't think that means the trade value is going down, but I don't know. I mean, it's either him or Morel leading off, right? Like, they haven't really tried anyone else. I don't really want them to try anyone else. There's not really a lot of options there. But love to see Contreras happen, Suzuki and Horner right there in the middle of the lineup.
I think David in the chat, it's a good point. I mentioned this to you, Cody, before we got on, that P.J. Higgins had that grand slam a few days ago, but not really translating to starts. He's been putting up good numbers offensively for the Cubs this year. I think it's all of these factors, right? You got to play Contreras every night. When he's healthy, he's either catching or DHing. And I think the splits for Gomes for a lot of these pitchers, the ERA discrepancy is pretty large. It's not a ton of innings, so I'm not necessarily trying to turn that into a thing about like Wilson's catching or game calling or anything. But you've got a veteran who seems to be having success with your young pitchers. You're probably going to put Gomes out there every time Thompson's pitching.
I think we would think differently. Like I don't even necessarily disagree with David. It's just like P.J. Higgins. He's hitting well right now, and he's good versatilely defensively. Like, you play first a little bit, can play catcher.
Third.
Like, if there's anything that I would rather see him be doing every day is playing first, because it's not like we're getting any offense out of first base on a consistent basis. Like, I know Frank's coming back, but even before he got hurt, like, he had a nice little stretch there after, he almost got sent to Iowa. Then they recalled him. He sits in the middle seat on the airplane, blah, blah, blah. Goes on a hot stretch for like a month and a half or so. But, like, other than that, like, Schwindel has been a disappointment this year. Like, we're at a point where we can say
Rivas
that now.
too.
And Rivas,
I was really hoping that Rivas would take more.
Rivas had a really good road series against San Diego and Arizona, and then
he was great.
After they came back, he has been very blah. Now, ever since he got called up after Schwindel hit the IL, I will admit he has hit better. But again, out of that position, out of first base, he's not giving you the power. He's not giving you what you want out of first base. Rivas, to me, I have pretty much decided is a very solid bench piece, because I think you can play him in the corner outfield and you can play him at first base, and he gives you a quality pinch hit at bat, I feel like, because he always makes contact more often than not. But is he an everyday player? No. And I think we can all sit here and agree with that at this point. We've seen enough, to me at least, where I feel like long term, if the Cubs keep him, he's just a bench guy. And Schwindel, okay, fine. Like, you look at Schwindel and it's like, okay, that's a first baseman, but like, is he gonna get back to what he was in the second half of last year? No, he just isn't.
Probably not.
So like, at this point, like, if you want to play Higgins, who again is 29 and whatever, like, then they should play Higgins more at first base, especially with everything we just said about Gomes and how he helps pitchers have better games.
Yeah.
So
first base has been interesting and rather disappointing. And you really hoping that some of these guys can get these opportunities and sort of command the playing time and enter the conversation for the future as things go along. Morel is the easiest example, right? He has adjustments that he's made and struggles and things like that, but overall, his numbers are really good. He's really impressive. And you kind of start to have that conversation of, okay, where does he fit in going forward? And at first base with Schwindel and Rivas, they have not really performed that way. And at some point, and I think, this is kind of the larger point that you're making, Cody, like, you can't give guys forever. right? You got a ton of guys in the minors, and we'll see how these trades shake out, et cetera. Like, you want to give other guys opportunities. And, Rivas has gotten a little bit of runway. At some point, you want to maybe see P.J. Higgins get that runway or call up somebody else and get that runway. Like, part of a season like this is you want to give guys opportunities. You want to give them a fair shot, right? But at some point, you have to be like, okay, like,
right.
We can't just wait for this to happen forever.
And again, it's not even that, like, Rivas has been awful. It's just he's not giving you production that you want out of an everyday first baseman.
Right.
He's not been good. I think I'd put it at that. He's not been good.
Yeah.
Oh, for the season overall, no. But I think he has been fair since
It just
coming
seems like
up
they have
last
so
time.
many guys that are in that same threshold, right? Mm-hmm. You got Rafael Ortega, Alfonso Rivas, P.J. Higgins, all these guys who are a little bit older in that 29 to 31 age who are just, Yeah. So you're right. It's about giving guys runway. It's about where do we want to play these guys. And I think that this is, I've been on the record saying this multiple times, is that where this team's going to spend money in the offseason is on infield power bats. They got enough outfield depth that's going to last them next year, judging on whether or not they keep Happ to the deadline. But you got Morel, Happ, and then you're going to have Brendan Davis next year. And you got Suzuki. There you go. 4 guys right there that it's going to be.
And Jason Hayward.
Yeah. Well, Jason Hayward will be around too. Maybe he'll get the injured.
I'll see myself out.
Yeah. Maybe he'll get the Andrelton Simmons IL treatment again next year, like he's on right now.
But I do. Yeah, I agree with you, and I think
middle infielder and a first baseman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, especially, that's kind of the point. I mean, you were hoping you'd end up in a scenario where maybe Rivas would play to a level where you were like, okay, like
or
maybe.
Or at the very least, they can move Wisdom to first, because we've seen him do that, and like you'll at least get the production offensively from there. And he probably plays a solid first base defensively too, because he's so good defensively at third.
Yeah.
And then you could play Morel at third, his natural position.
Sign
That'd be more
another
after the
infielder.
or after the deadline probably. But again, like,
I'm going to be honest too. I
upgrade.
like Morel a lot in center, but again, you like the versatility. But I really, really like him in center. I think he's played a very good center field this year.
That's fair.
But let's see who you got tonight,
guys. I'm sorry to say this, but I'm taking the Mets tonight. But I did see Jack R. said he's at the ball game, and he said he's never seen the Cubs lose when he's at Wrigley.
Well,
so maybe you can either bet against me or you can ride with Jack R., who, he's in the chat every night, and even though I don't always agree with all of his takes, he, great. He seems like a great dude. So the difference between me and my gambling and him and the powers that be, that when he's at Wrigley, we're gonna see what happens, right? Something's got to give. Anyway, I made that bet over at PointsBet. It's my favorite app, and it's one of my favorite apps because it's the best way to support CHGO. If you download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up, if you do that right now, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content. You even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free T-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making more than $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. That T-shirt, kind of like the one Kevin's wearing over there. I mean, it is just sick drip, like Stuckey says. Is great deal. That's all I'm saying. If you have any questions, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com. We'll help you out. You're home for live in-play betting. Just got even better. See an edge in the game. You're watching. Is your favorite team primed for a comeback? Hey, the Cubs could be down early tonight. And who knows? With Keegan Thompson, maybe he's like Steele. But the Cubs offense comes alive tonight. Maybe you want to live bet the Cubs tonight with Steele pitching or with Thompson pitching. I don't know. But I depending on the score, I wouldn't blame you if you thought about it. Don't just watch the game. Bet along with it live. More live betting, more live markets, and faster live cash outs. Follow along with your bets the moment they hit and stay in the live action all game long. Download the PointsBet app right now and use code CHGO. So what are you waiting for? It's time to elevate your live betting game. Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services.
I'm taking the Cubs on PointsBet tonight. I'm riding the Cubs.
He's riding Jack R, baby.
I'm going to ride Keegan Thompson. We're going to get this win tonight. I'm taking the Cubs.
All right. Corey?
The losing streak stops at 6, you say, then?
Stops at 6.
All right. I wouldn't bet any of my hard-earned money on this team, but yeah. I wouldn't bet on the Mets either, So Ron Santo would forbid me to support the Mets in any way, so I can't do that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'll have to sit this one out.
Who we got, though? Who you got?
Going with Seiya tonight. Also, that picture of me is goofy compared to the rest of the ones you guys have.
We need
I had to go to Google.
We need to get Eric from DMVR to make you a caricature. Ryan's taking Wilson. Oh, Stuckey sent one in the Slack channel again tonight, but he also chose Wilson.
He's a little loopy still for me,
a little loopy
from the procedure.
colonoscopy probably. But Ryan put Wilson first, and Stuckey must have missed it. So no pick for Stuckey
We're
tonight.
not really respecting our elders.
My
point.
point-
I feel like Luke should have priority, but
My point will go to Luke if I win. Just like last night, although I lost last night, so sorry, Luke, you didn't get the point. But tonight, got Seiya. Seiya's going to have a nice game at the plate tonight, and my point will go to Luke. Forecasting the future for you.
I'm taking Keegan. Keegan's going to shove, and the Cubs are going to completely disappoint us at the end of the game again.
I've got Morel, so apologies in advance to Christopher Morel. I never win this. I'm pretty sure the guys I pick and who you got have 0 hits, so I apologize
You've
to
not
Christopher
won
Morel.
one time?
No.
Oh, my God, dude. Come on. What's going on?
Last time, Thompson.
I'm basically looking through the lineup like, oh, who do I feel like cursing tonight? And I love Christopher Morel, so I chose him. Sorry.
Last time Thompson pitched, I took him as who you got, and he went out and shoved in L.A. So we're putting that energy into that.
I don't even look at Keegan. It's like I can't take that from Cody. Cody's got dibs. I think we're in
I
Chicago.
was going to say,
Cody's got dibs.
how come you got first pick? What about the beginner? Do I? Because I was going to take Keegan, but I it's not. I'll let you have it.
There's like the rule behind who's picking first is so like out there. Like no one ever sticks to it because Stuckey's like, oh, whoever wins picks last, but then he wins and then he picks first the next day because respect your elders. So like basically since then it's just like whoever says it first in the Slack channel first. It's just how it is. It's a tough world we live in. I've learned throughout my life that life isn't fair. So.
All right, I'll take it.
Anyway.
Well, Carlos Carrasco tonight for the New York Mets. Keegan Thompson for the Cubs. Keegan making his first start against the New York Mets. He came on an appearance one time last year, went 2 innings back in the middle of June with 3 Ks, but facing a lot of guys he does not have a lot of experience against. So we will see what happens, but we appreciate you guys dropping in to check out the CHGO Cubs pregame show. Hopefully we get a W, and we'll talk to you guys after the game.